Well, here we are at chapter 14. Gloria tells Mel she's going to be leaving for a little while. We head out to my car after she changes clothes in Mel's office. She threw on a pair of blue jeans and a light blue turtleneck top. She looked so beautiful. It was hard to imagine the mess she had caused, but I could somehow begin to understand how upset she could have been to have her dreams dashed due to some stupid college prank. Truly amazing and sad. At the hospital, we find Gus, Mary, Red, Skip McCormick, the pirate manager, Emma and Joe Curtin in the waiting room. Sitting next to Emma was a most attractive young woman who was beginning to show her pregnancy. It must be Sharon Curtin, I thought. They were all sitting on two sofas in the waiting room. As Gus and Red spotted Gloria and I coming down the corridor, Gus came to meet us halfway. Gus, have you heard anything from Doc Martin? I asked softly. The marble floors and the concrete walls could make sound really travel. Mary had stopped her conversation with Emma Curtin and came to meet us. What we do know is that he was in intensive care, but on the critical list, and everyone thought he was stable. They knew he had some kind of brain tumor, and that was the doc's part that I saw, but they were hoping he could get stronger vital signs before they undertook such a grueling operation. He never did come out of the coma. Doc said he was sure there would have been vision damage or complete blindness anyway. The funny thing is that no one ever knew about the brain tumor. Not Emma, Joe, even Sharon, his wife, that is sitting over there next to Emma, Gus finished. Can you believe it? Asked Mary. No one knew about the brain tumor? How could that be? I excused myself and walked over to the curtains, and I introduced myself. Excuse me, I began. I'm Bill Allen of the Yankees, and I just wanted to tell you how sorry I am for what happened. I never wanted anything like this to ever happen. I even hate it when someone gets hit by a pitch. Please believe me when I tell you how sorry I am. You're the boy that hit the ball, aren't you? Asked Emma softly. I looked down at the floor in shame. Yes, ma'am, I am, I admit to her and their family. We wanted to talk to you sooner, but didn't know who you were, she said. We wanted you to know we hold no ill feelings toward you or any of the monarchs. Please don't carry this burden around with you for the rest of your life. It was purely an accident, nothing more. You need to believe that right now. She's right, said Sharon Curtin as she reached out and touched my hand. Please don't blame yourself for this. We know you could not plan this or stop it from happening. It was just a freak accident. She looked warmly at me as the tears started rolling up in her eyes and down her face. I did my best, but one rolled down my cheek. Sharon was quick to wipe it away with her soft little hand. Hey, she said, it was just an accident, okay? Okay, I said, but if there's anything I can do for you, just say the word. I gave Sharon a piece of paper that I had written my name and address and the phone number on it. I also included the Monarch's contact information who could always track me down. Please call me if you need anything, really, I conclude. I squeeze Sharon's hand as I ride up and reach out to meet Joe Curtin's outstretched hand, and we shake warmly. I nod to Emma as we went back to be seated with Sharon. I go back over and rejoin Mary, Gus, and Gloria. They started the autopsy about 2 hours ago, said Gus. They decided to perform it right here rather than move the body. The boss heard about it in New York last night and called the hospital administrator, and he's paying for all the arrangements, including the hospital stay and the autopsy. He will also take care of Sharon Curtin once this is all settled. If the best doctor was in Bangladesh, you can bet George would have had him here pronto. He is funny that way. He asks us to keep him informed. As we were talking to Sharon Curtin, she came over to us and tapped us on the shoulder. "Can we go for a little walk?" she asked. "We need to talk." With that, we made our way down the hallway, walking slowly. I was getting somewhat more nervous with every step. I did not know if I was up to this or not. What kind of bombshell was she going to drop on me? With that, we made our way down the hall. I was getting somewhat more nervous. As the news of Chuck's accident reached me from Joe and Emma, she said, I started to make arrangements to come here. I called my folks in Florida and Chuck's brother and sister in Arizona and California. I then called our family doctor, Dr. Franks. Sharon paused for a long time with a serious look on her face. He came over to the house right away, and he dropped quite a bomb on me, she continued. It seemed that Chuck had gone over to see him about these awful headaches he was having. Chuck even complained that he would lose feeling in his arm once in a while. He refused the doctor's offer of running some tests to see what was wrong. Doc then told me that Chuck even admitted that he would black out once in a while. It always happened when he was alone, so no one else knew. Chuck made the doc swear not to tell a soul about this, and he never did. Why he would want to keep such a secret from you, I asked. You see, Bill, Sharon went on, we lost our first child, a son named Barry, 5 months ago. It was that sudden infant death syndrome. You've probably heard about it, where kids just stop breathing in their sleep. Well, anyway, it was really tough on us for a while. I guess especially me. I was mad at God and mad at the doctors, just mad at the world, I guess. I just couldn't understand what I could have done that was so bad that I deserved to have my child die. I went to church every Sunday, even Wednesday nights. I've never been with another man, Chuck was. Chuck was it. I think that is why Chuck never told me. He was afraid I couldn't handle it. I guess so. He never did tell me. Doc did tell me that Chuck was afraid that if they performed surgery, he might not be able to play ball again. He feared that something would go wrong during the operation. Doc Franks told me desperately he tried to convince Chuck, with the great advances they've made, it probably could be removed successfully, but Chuck was not buying any of it. Chuck was always great for putting things off anyway. I couldn't believe what I was hearing from Sharon. I'm so sorry, I replied to her. What a terrible mistake, all of this. Bill, the reason I'm telling you this is that I don't want you to go through the rest of your life carrying 10 tons of guilt about this, she added. She stopped talking and turned and looked me square in the eyes. She reached out and threw her arms around my chest, burying her head in my chest, started to sob. Sharon, I began, as I put my arms around her, trying to console her. Don't worry about me. I'm more worried about you and this baby you are about to have. My problems are small compared to what you're looking at. I think you would agree. She released her arms from me and pulled back to look at me. I'm not worried about any of that. Chuck has $2 million of life insurance, so money is not going to be a problem. No father for my child is, but there are many other people with worse problems with mine, and they have to deal with it with no money. I'll be able to afford to deal with mine, and having a loving, supportive family behind me. Many single moms don't, she concluded. Well, you are taking this far better than I ever thought you would, I add. I guess all you know and have gone through has brought you to this point. What you must understand, Bill, Sharon went on, is that one day Chuck could have just fallen over dead in some gas station washroom from this tumor he would not deal with. Whether it was a hit baseball or nothing at all, it doesn't matter. The problems never go away. We must deal with them the best we know how and get on with it. Chuck couldn't do it, and so here we are today. He probably should not have been out on that mound pitching. He always complained about these wicked headaches, but kept telling me it was probably just migraines. Now we know it wasn't. We talked a little longer and Sharon gave me another hug, which I returned. We made our way back to the families. They still had not heard anything. Joe Curtin spoke. I think we'd like to go get some lunch, if that's all right with you folks. With that, the nurse came over and asked if we could join her in a private room off the corridor. The Curtin family headed off, but Sharon turned to see us all standing still. She motioned for us to follow. You all come with us, she stated. There's no reason for you not to be with us. There is no secret here. Sharon motioned again for us to follow, which we did. We entered the room with the nurse, Doc Martin, and another doctor. My name is Dr. Rosenbaum, he began. I'm afraid I have some rather startling news for you. Chuck Curtin did have a very large brain tumor. The sad part was, I truly believe that it was operable and probably not malignant, but we wouldn't have known that until we sent a sample out. The size of the tumor would have caused him terrible headaches and might have even caused occasional blackouts or at least severe dizzy spells. Did Chuck ever complain about this? Sharon filled the doctor in on what she had told me. He just stood there shaking his head. Emma and Joe were shocked. Emma started crying uncontrollably. Joe held her tight. Everyone looked at each other. Well, Dr. Rosenbaum continued. That was only part of it. The autopsy found huge amounts of cocaine in his system. I'm quite surprised he could even make it out of bed, let alone pitch in a baseball game, he concluded. Everyone in the office was stunned. The silence was broken only by Emma's increased sobbing, which was muffled by her face being buried in Joe's chest. Sharon Curtin didn't move or make a sound, which kind of frightened me. I guess my chauvinism was expecting her to fall apart. Skip McCormick moved up to Sharon and put his arms around her shoulders. He was visibly upset. Sharon, I don't know what to say, Skip began. I can't really believe it. We're all drug tested all the time. Not once did he test positive for anything. How can this be? Well, there's no doubt about it, said Dr. Rosenbaum. We double-checked everything. It was definitely cocaine. How soon can I begin to make arrangements to transport my husband's body back to Maine for the funeral? Asked Sharon. We can have him ready by the morning, if that's what you wish, said Doc Martin. That'll be fine, said Sharon. Mary went over to Sharon and Emma. Let's go back over to the Dodgers and go get some lunch. I think Emma could use some peace and quiet. A little rest might do us all some good, she concluded, coaxing them to move into the hallway. With that, Mary and Sharon moved down the corridor arm in arm. The men all shook the doctor's hands and thanked them for their efforts. We were all so numb, not really believing what we had heard. I felt prepared, but not for this kind of news. His death was one thing, but his medical condition and cocaine use were something else altogether. This is a game of pulled muscles, not last rites. I could not help but thinking Sharon and her baby as Gloria and I made our way down the hall and into the elevator. It was a very quiet ride to the ground floor. None of it made any sense, at least not to us.